Good evening, I'm Chief Meteorologist Alex Kirchner. We are keeping a very close eye on a severe storm threat as we head into the evening hours. We are live here on the WREX website as well as our news app. You can also join in the conversation on our Facebook page, 13WREX, as well as on YouTube. So we're about an hour away from severe storms getting to our backyard. We're under a watch right now until 2 a.m. A watch is your heads up all the way across northern Illinois. We could see severe weather with damaging wind gusts potentially up to 70, even 80 miles per hour. So that's the threat we are under right now. Again, the watch means your heads up. You don't have to take action just yet, but definitely pay attention to that threat as we go throughout the remainder of this evening. There is one severe thunderstorm warning out for sections of Carroll and Whiteside counties until 10 p.m. Sterling, Rock Falls, you're right on the boundary of all of that. Same for Savannah. What's coming at you, though, is winds potentially up to 60 miles per hour. So that is enough to cause some tree damage. Right behind that, though, are some storms that could bring 80 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts. Those are located kind of close to those tornado warnings. So we're watching really the storms entering the Davenport, Quad Cities area very closely here because that's where we could see wind gusts potentially up to 70 miles per hour. So it's those kind of storms that are advancing northward and could bring those threats to our backyard. As for tornadic activity, again, it's pretty isolated, so I think that's lower on the threat scale. If anything, it's the wind gusts up to 70 miles per hour that could be a problem. And again, those are storms that are entering the Quad Cities right now. So looking at approximate timing here, these may not be into our backyard until closer to 10:30, 11 o'clock. So we got just a little bit of time before they arrive. Wanted to give you at least an hour heads up that we've got those strong storms on the way. So again, right about an hour from now is when the strong to potential severe activity gets into our backyard. So just make sure that you've got ways to get alerts, make sure they're nice and loud. And because these storms are moving at highway speed, I mean, we're talking 60 to 70 miles per hour, you might not have a ton of reaction time. So just make sure that you are getting to shelter as quickly as possible if you do have a warning. Again, no warnings into the core of our viewing area just yet, but still 1 hour from now, that's when things could get a little dicey across our backyard. So future track shows those storms entering the picture at about 10:30 to 11 o'clock by Dixon and Freeport into the Rockford area between 11 and 11:30. Future track not necessarily looking the most ominous, but these storms have been pretty good about getting the extremely strong winds above us down to the surface, which is why even just kind of a weaker looking thunderstorm could still pack a wind gust of 60 to 70 miles per hour. So Tim's wondering here, does it look like these storms could be weakening? They may be on a slight weakening trend, but again, I think they're very efficient at getting severe wind gusts down to the surface. So they may not look like much on radar, but these things are going to pack some serious winds with them. So that's where I don't necessarily just glance at the radar and think, oh, they don't look that bad. Again, there is the possibility we get some severe wind gusts even with storms that don't look necessarily the most severe. So these will be out after midnight. So again, it's roughly between about 10:30 to midnight that we'll see the storms across our backyard. So damaging winds the main threat, anywhere from 60 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts. 60 miles per hour, that's enough to knock down tree branches. You get into that 80 mile an hour territory, though, that could be doing some major tree damage as well as damage to your roof and things like that. So that's where we wanted to give you as much heads up as possible. Some storms may bring that kind of strength. They're also moving at highway speed, so even if we don't see that high-end severe threat, you still got these storms moving fast, so we want to make sure that you're at least paying attention and know to get away from the windows, know to get to that lower level of your house, just in case, because again, these storms are going to move in so quickly, you might not have a ton of reaction time. And isolated tornadoes still possible. We have been seeing those on radar well to our southwest. Again, I still think the damaging wind threat is the main one we'll have to face. And then even stronger wind gusts strike as of tomorrow, not necessarily up to, 80 miles an hour, but we could be looking at 50 to 60 miles per hour. These are those non-thunderstorm wind gusts like we've been seeing all throughout the day. They do ramp up a little bit tomorrow morning before dropping back down again, so just make sure that that's on your radar too. storms are out by midnight, but we still have some blustery winds that really could cause some difficulty driving, sporadic power outages throughout tomorrow morning. So that's just kind of a separate threat, but I wanted to make sure that you're at least aware of that 50+ mile-an-hour wind gusts possible throughout tomorrow morning. So Lori's wondering here, how severe is it going to be? I think you should plan on some strong wind gusts moving through between 10:30 to midnight, enough that if you get an alert on your phone, get to that basement or that lower level as quickly as you can, just because of the wind threat that could be coming through. Again, really not looking at any active warnings into our viewing area just yet, but we're starting to see some warnings creep closer towards us. Those storms are about an hour away, so that is something to be aware of over the rest of the night. So Nathan's wondering here, what is the policy on outdoor warning sirens? So severe thunderstorm warnings for Winnebago County. It does vary from county to county. I know Ogle County is one of those that will issue the outdoor warning sirens for high-end severe storms. So that is something to kind of keep in mind here, is that you might hear the sirens. They may not necessarily be for tornadoes. So it is a county-by-county basis as to whether they issue those warning sirens or not. So I think if anything, use those kind of as a backup almost. Don't use those as your primary source for a warning. Listen to your phone, listen to your weather radio. If there is that high-end wind threat, where we're talking 70 to 80 miles per hour, the wireless emergency alert might even issue on your phone. So I think that's my best advice, is that those outdoor warning sirens are meant for people outdoors. So if you're inside, weather radio, have the 13 Weather Authority app or the Storm Track 13 app. That's, I think, what it's called as of this point. Just make sure that you're watching, in about a half an hour, our broadcasts. Have multiple ways to get those alerts just in case. So Jake's wondering here, when is it going to hit Freeport? You're looking at about 10:30-ish as to when that gets into the Freeport area. Claudia is wondering here, tornado threat, it's low. We may see an isolated tornado or two, so it's not all the way down to zero, but I think that tornado threat is on the lower end of the scale. So that is something that you're going to want to be aware of, but really, if you get a warning, it doesn't matter if it's for a thunderstorm or if it's for a tornado, get to your safe shelter just in case. So let's see, Lori's wondering about the Belvedere area. Probably not until closer to 11:30. That's finally getting to Belvedere, and again, severe winds are the main threat there. So some of you maybe closer to 2 hours away before those storms arrive, but as these move in, they're going to be moving fast, so they are moving at about 60 miles per hour or so. Keeping an eye on those warnings that are just now poking into Carroll and Whiteside County.